Zim, after the judgment, the decision had been made. Not because it was right, but because it was easier. And that is how the world often works. Not by truth, but by pressure. Not by justice, but by noise. Truth does not always win. Sometimes it simply stands there, unheard. And now, Jesus Christ was no longer standing in silence. He was being led, not toward an ending, but towards something no one around him fully understood. The walk begins, extended. They place the cross upon him. Heavy, rough, unforgiving. Not designed to carry, but to crush. And still he accepted it. No argument, no resistance, just a quiet step forward. Step by step, through streets that once heard his words. Streets where people once gathered, not to watch, but to listen. And now, they stood again, but not the same way. Now they watched from a distance, not as followers, but as spectators. And that change says more about people than any words ever could. Reflection, deeper layer. Think about this. People don't always leave loudly, slowly, quietly, until one day they are no longer there. Not against you, but not with you either. And that silence can be louder than rejection. The weight extended, the cross was not just wood, it was weight. Not just physical, but symbolic. Every step slower than the last, every breath shorter than before. The road stretched ahead longer than it looked, and yet he did not stop. Because some journeys are not meant to be easy. They are meant to be completed, even when every part of you wants to stop. The crowd extended. People lined the streets, faces filled with different emotions. Some curious, some distant, some uncomfortable. A few silent, very few understanding, and many simply watching. Because watching is easy. It costs nothing. No risk, no responsibility, just observation. And in that moment, the crowd became a mirror, a reflection of how people respond to truth. Falling, extended emotional. He fell, the weight too much for a moment. The ground met him, hard, unforgiving, and for a second, everything stopped. The noise, the movement, the watching eyes. When someone falls, even the world pauses. But only for a moment. Then it moves again, and the question becomes, do you stay down or rise? And slowly, he rose. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Reflection, real meaning. Everyone falls. That is not the difference. The difference is what you do next. Do you stay in that moment or move through it? Because strength is not in never falling. It is in rising when falling would have been easier. Help extended meaning. A man was pulled from the crowd, forced, not by choice, but by command, to carry the cross for someone else. And at first, it meant nothing to him, just another task, another burden. But sometimes, the moments we are forced into become the moments that define us. He walked beside him, not as a follower, not as a believer, but as someone who was now part of the story. Golgotha, extended build-up. They reached the place, Golgotha, a place where stories stop, where voices fade, where names are forgotten. But something about this moment felt different. The air itself felt heavier, as if even the world knew this was not just another ending. The crucifixion, extended core scene. They laid him down. The sky above, silent. No thunder, no warning, just stillness. The ground below, waiting, and time seemed to slow. Because some moments are too important to rush. And then it happened. The moment that would echo through history. Not loud, not chaotic, but quiet. And that quiet made it even heavier. Because meaning does not need noise. Above the crowd, extended, he was lifted, between earth and sky, not fully part of either, suspended, and below, the world watched, some with pain, some with confusion, some with nothing at all. And that is what makes this moment powerful. Not just what happened above, but what happened below. Because the event revealed people. Reflection, deep insight. Sometimes, it is not the moment itself that defines history. It is how people respond to it. Some see meaning, some see nothing, and some never look at all. Words from the cross, and even there, in that moment, there was no anger, no blame, no demand for justice. Words that felt almost impossible. Forgive them. Think about that. In a moment like this, most would ask, why? But here, there was only mercy. Because true strength is not in power, it is in control. And the highest form of control is choosing peace when anger would be easier. Ending, the turning point, extended closure. The sky darkened, not suddenly, but slowly, as if the light itself was fading. The air changed, heavier, still, and something shifted. Not just in that place, but beyond it. Because what looked like an end was not an end. It was a turning point. A moment that would be understood not in that time, but in the time that followed. Because some events are not meant to be understood immediately. They are meant to unfold.